My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The bank message said, account access removed. I was sitting at my own dining table when it arrived. Crystal glasses, roast chicken, my son at the head of the table, and laughter. I thought it was a mistake. I read the message again, then again. Access removed. My fingers went cold. Across from me, my daughter-in-law, Clarissa, raised her glass. To new beginnings, she said sweetly. Everyone clinked, except me, because I had just realized something. I wasn't included in whatever they were celebrating, and I didn't know why. I cleared my throat gently. Daniel, is there something I should know? He didn't look at me. It's nothing, Mom. Just paperwork. Paperwork. I had signed paperwork my entire life. Mortgage papers, school forms, hospital consent documents when he broke his arm at 9. Paperwork was never nothing. Clarissa smiled without warmth. It's just restructuring. Modern banking. Modern banking. That's when my phone buzzed again. Another alert. Digital will updated. I stopped breathing. Digital will. I hadn't updated any will. My husband passed 3 years ago. Everything was supposed to remain stable. Transparent. Daniel, I whispered. Why is my name removed from our joint account? The table went silent. Not confused silent. Prepared silent. Clarissa set her fork down slowly. We thought it would be easier this way. Easier? For who? I asked softly. For everyone, she replied. That was humiliation number 1. But it wouldn't be the worst. Dinner continued like I hadn't spoken. They discussed renovation plans. A new extension. A nursery. A nursery. My heart lifted for a moment. Are you expecting? Clarissa touched her stomach dramatically. It's early. Oh, I breathed. That's wonderful. I waited for them to say what every mother hopes to hear. We can't do this without you. They didn't. Instead, Clarissa added lightly, we'll probably hire help. A professional nanny. We don't want old-fashioned methods. Old-fashioned. I felt it land. After everything I sacrificed. After raising Daniel alone when his father traveled for work. After selling my jewelry to pay for his university. Old-fashioned. Daniel laughed awkwardly. Mom used to think putting rice in a sock cured fevers. I smiled politely. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just nodded. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a bank alert. It was the family WhatsApp group. Except it wasn't our usual one. It was titled, Next Chapter, Core Family. I wasn't in it. I only saw it because Aunt Shazia accidentally forwarded a voice note to the wrong thread. Clarissa's voice played automatically. Once the house transfer is finalized, we won't need her signature anymore. Silence filled my ears. The house? My house? I looked up slowly. Daniel's eyes darted to my phone. Mom. How long? I asked quietly. Clarissa leaned back in her chair. It's not like that. Then tell me what it is. She exhaled dramatically. You said you wanted us to have stability. We're just securing the future. By removing me from it? Anger rose in my throat, but I swallowed it. 40 years of being the calm one does that to you. You could have told me, I said softly. Daniel rubbed his temples. We didn't want to stress you. Stress me. The house I paid for. The land my husband and I built brick by brick. We thought, Clarissa continued, at your age, it's better not to deal with finances. At your age, I felt something crack inside my chest. When did I stop mattering? I asked. No one answered. The humiliation peaked when Daniel stood up and made another toast. To independence. Everyone cheered. Even my younger sister. I realized then, they weren't celebrating a baby. They were celebrating freedom from me. Later that night, I opened my laptop. I checked the property registry portal. My hands trembled as I logged in. There it was, a pending transfer request. Submitted 3 days ago. Digital signature, Nana May. But I hadn't signed anything. I stared at the timestamp. It was during Sunday dinner, when Clarissa insisted on helping me set up my tablet. My stomach dropped. Forgery. I checked my email. There it was, a confirmation message buried under newsletters. Thank you for authorizing property transition. My hands went ice cold. They hadn't just mocked me. They were erasing me. I wanted to call Daniel. Instead, I opened the smart doorbell app. 2 days ago, a lawyer had visited. I watched the footage. Clarissa greeted him. Daniel shook his hand. I wasn't home. They scheduled it during my weekly volunteer shift. Planned, careful, intentional. I sat in the dark living room. The house felt unfamiliar. Every photo on the wall suddenly looked like evidence. I whispered to myself, I didn't raise him like this. Tears came quietly, not dramatic, just steady. After everything I sacrificed, was I only welcome when they needed something? My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Mrs. May, a male voice said. Yes. This is Advocate Rahman. I'm calling regarding the property transfer dispute. Dispute? I didn't file a dispute, I whispered. There was a pause. Your husband did. My heart stopped. My husband passed away. Yes, he said carefully. But a sealed clause in his original will was activated this morning. Sealed clause? What clause? Silence. Then, one that prevents the house from being sold or transferred without your explicit physical presence before two witnesses. I couldn't speak. They attempted digital authorization, he continued. It's invalid. My breathing grew shallow. So the transfer? Blocked. Blocked. For the first time that night, I felt something different. Not sadness, not humiliation, power. But then he added something that made my blood run cold. There's more, Mrs. May. What? There is a second condition. I gripped the phone tighter. If any attempt is made to remove you financially without your consent. He paused. Ownership reverts fully to you, and any beneficiary attempting unauthorized transfer forfeits their inheritance. Silence. Heavy. My son had just disqualified himself. He didn't know it yet, but I did. I looked around my living room, the same room where they toasted independence, where they laughed, where they called me old-fashioned. I whispered into the quiet. You wanted independence. My phone buzzed again. Family group chat. Clarissa had posted. Good news. Everything is almost finalized. Smiling face with smiling eyes. I stared at the smiling emoji, then at the legal email confirming. Transfer blocked. Beneficiary risk triggered. That's when I realized they had no idea what they had just done. And tomorrow, I would decide whether to tell them or let them celebrate. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. I opened the family group chat and realized I was the only one who didn't know. It was 6:12 a.m. I hadn't slept. The lawyer's words kept echoing in my mind. Beneficiary forfeits inheritance. My hands felt steady now. Too steady. The family group was unusually active for that hour. Messages poured in. Congratulations emojis. House emojis. Baby emojis. Clarissa had changed the group description overnight. Next chapter begins Yellowheart. I stared at it. Next chapter. Without me. Daniel sent a message. Lawyer confirmed everything is almost complete. My stomach tightened. Almost. Clarissa replied instantly. By tonight we'll finally be free. Free. Free from what? From me. I typed slowly. Free from who? There was a pause in the chat. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Clarissa responded first. Oh, good morning. Nana, smiling face with smiling eyes, we were just discussing paperwork. Paperwork. Again. Daniel finally replied. Mom, we were going to talk to you today. Talk to me. After filing forged documents. After removing me from my own account. After celebrating at my table. I set my phone down. I could feel humiliation rising again. But this time, it didn't burn. It sharpened. At 8:03 a.m., another message appeared. From Aunt Shazia. But it wasn't text. It was a forwarded WhatsApp voice note. Clarissa's voice filled the kitchen as I played it. Once it's finalized, she won't be able to reverse anything, even if she cries. Laughter in the background. Daniel's voice, quieter. Just don't mention the secondary clause. My heart stopped. Secondary clause? They knew. They knew something. I replayed it. Don't mention the secondary clause. My breathing became shallow. What secondary clause? The lawyer told me about one. Was there another? Had my husband? I pressed my hand against the counter to steady myself. I felt old, but I did not feel weak. Not anymore. I typed calmly in the group chat. What secondary clause? Silence. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Then Daniel called. I let it ring once. Twice. Then answered. Mom. What secondary clause? It's nothing. Daniel. His breathing changed. It's just, Dad's will had some conditions. Standard legal stuff. Like what? He hesitated. Like, if the house value increases beyond a certain point, there's a redistribution. Redistribution? To who? I asked softly. He didn't answer. Instead, Clarissa's voice appeared faintly in the background. Don't tell her everything. Everything. I closed my eyes. After everything I sacrificed. When did I become the outsider in my own family? Mom, Daniel said carefully, we just want stability before the baby comes. And stability requires removing me. It's temporary. Temporary. I almost laughed. So it was my husband's first cough before the diagnosis. Temporary can become permanent very quickly. I'll see you at dinner, I said calmly. And I hung up. By noon, I had done something I had never done before. I accessed the full digital archive of my husband's original will. Not the updated summaries. The sealed version. He had insisted everything be stored securely in the National Digital Vault. At the time, I told him he was paranoid. Now I wasn't so sure. I scrolled. Clause 4A. Standard property protection. Clause 7C. Inheritance equal distribution. Then I saw it. Clause 9F. Activation upon attempted coercion or exclusion of spouse. My throat went dry. I clicked. A hidden video file appeared. Recorded 3 years ago. The day after his diagnosis. I pressed play. My husband's face filled the screen. Older. Tired. But clear. If you're watching this, may something has happened. My breath caught. I know our son. I love him. But love can be influenced. He paused. If anyone tries to remove you from your own home or finances without your consent, his voice hardened. Everything transfers back to you. Fully. Immediately. I covered my mouth. There's more, he said. If coercion is proven, the individual attempting it forfeits inheritance permanently. My hands trembled. He knew. He knew this could happen. But May, he added gently, this isn't about punishment. It's about protection. Protection. Tears blurred my vision. For years you kept peace, he said softly. If you're watching this, it means you finally need to stop. The video ended. I sat there for a long time. Silence wrapped around me like truth. At 6 p.m., we gathered again at the same dining table. Clarissa smiled too brightly. Daniel looked tense. I served tea myself. No one toasted this time. I spoke to the registry office, I began calmly. Daniel froze. Clarissa's smile faltered. Oh, she said lightly. Yes, the transfer request triggered a protective clause. Silence. Daniel swallowed. What clause? The one that returns full ownership to me if unauthorized action is attempted. Clarissa blinked. That's not. It is. I placed printed documents on the table. Daniel picked them up. His face drained of color. This says. Yes. He looked at Clarissa. She looked back at him. And for the first time, they looked afraid. Anger rose inside Clarissa. This is manipulation, she snapped. You're using old legal tricks to control us. Control. I almost smiled. Control. I repeated softly. You removed my bank access. Daniel slammed his hand on the table. Mom, we were trying to protect assets for the baby. By forging my signature? Silence. That was the humiliation peak. For them. I never wanted this, I said quietly. You're punishing us, Clarissa hissed. No, I replied. I'm protecting myself. Daniel stood abruptly. So what now? You just take everything. Everything. The word echoed. I thought about the years, the sacrifices, the quiet swallowing of disrespect. I don't know yet, I admitted. And that was true. Because power isn't loud. It's patient. But then Clarissa made a mistake. A small one. She grabbed her phone, probably to text someone. But instead, her screen mirrored automatically to the smart TV, and the group chat appeared. A private message from her sister. Did you secure the upstairs flat too? Or is she still allowed to live there? My heart stopped. Upstairs flat? Daniel stared at the screen. What flat? Clarissa froze. You said that was temporary. Daniel shouted. She stammered. I thought. You told me everything was transparent. Transparent. The room shifted. For the first time, they weren't united. They were fractured. I stood slowly. You tried to transfer the upstairs flat as well. Clarissa's silence was answer enough. That flat was rental income. My security. Daniel looked at her like he didn't recognize her. You said this was about the baby. It is, she cried. Your mother never intended to give us full control. Full control. There it was. Not stability. Control. I felt sadness then. Not anger. Sadness. When did my son start believing I was the obstacle? I picked up my purse. I think, I said softly, we all need time. Daniel looked up. Mom. But I was already walking away. As I reached the door, my phone buzzed. Another message from Advocate Ramon. Mrs. May. Additional clause activated due to attempted secondary property transfer. Please call urgently. Secondary property transfer. Upstairs flat. My hand tightened around the phone. I turned slowly back toward the dining room. They were arguing now. Voices raised. Accusations flying. Cracks widening. I realized something terrifying and powerful. They thought this was just about one house. They had no idea how many layers my husband had built into that will. And neither did I. I stepped outside into the evening air. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The nurse looked at me and said, You're listed as next of kin. That's how I found out. Not from my son. Not from my daughter-in-law. From a stranger in pale blue scrubs who assumed I already knew. I was standing in my kitchen when the hospital called. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Mrs. May, the nurse asked. Yes, you authorized emergency consent for Mrs. Clarissa Daniel this morning. We just need verbal confirmation. My hand went numb around the phone. I authorized what? There was a pause. You signed digitally at 9:14 a.m. We have your name and ID attached. 9:14 a.m. I was at home, alone, scrolling through legal documents. I didn't sign anything, I whispered. Silence. Then the nurse lowered her voice. Mrs. May, are you saying this signature wasn't given by you? The kitchen felt smaller, the air heavier. Yes, I said. Yes, I am. An hour later, I was at the hospital. I didn't tell Daniel. I didn't tell anyone. The nurse met me privately. She showed me the form. There it was. My name. My digital ID. My authorization. Procedure. Prenatal paternity screening. My heart skipped. Paternity screening? Why would Clarissa need that? And why would she use my identity? Is she okay? I asked quietly. The nurse nodded. She's stable. It was precautionary. Precautionary? For what? I stared at the signature again. It wasn't just forged. It was strategic. Using my name meant Daniel wouldn't be alerted as primary signer. Using my authority made it unquestioned. This wasn't panic. It was planning. I stepped into the hallway and leaned against the wall. My mind raced. Prenatal paternity screening. DNA. Suddenly, I remembered something. 3 months ago, Clarissa insisted Daniel take a DNA ancestry test for fun. They laughed about it, posted screenshots, talked about heritage. At the time, I thought it was modern curiosity. Now it felt different. Calculated. I pulled out my phone, opened the family WhatsApp media, scrolled back. There it was. Clarissa's message from 3 months ago. Just submitted Daniel's sample. Can't wait to see results. I felt cold. What if the baby timeline didn't match? What if the screening wasn't routine, but defensive? Mrs. May. I turned. Advocate Ramon stood at the end of the corridor. What are you doing here? I asked. He looked uneasy. I was about to call you. Clause 12 has been triggered. Clause 12? There are more clauses? Yes. My knees felt weak. He gestured for me to sit. Your husband added a medical protection clause. Medical? If any immediate family member attempts to access hospital consent under coercion or falsified identity, an investigation is automatically flagged. My heart pounded. Investigation? Yes. Into who? He held my gaze. Into motive. Motive. The word echoed in my ears. Why would Clarissa need secret paternity screening? Why use my identity? Why not Daniel's? Unless she wasn't sure. Or worse, she was sure. My phone buzzed. Daniel. I didn't answer. It buzzed again. Then a message. Mom, where are you? Another message. Why did the registry office call me? I stared at the screen. So the registry contacted him. Good. Let him feel uncertainty. Let him taste exclusion. For once. I stood up. I want to see her, I told the nurse. Clarissa looked pale in the hospital bed, but not weak, not fragile. She looked calculating. When she saw me, her expression shifted. What are you doing here? You used my name. She looked at the door. Lower your voice. You forged my consent. She exhaled sharply. It was easier. Easier. For who? I asked softly. For everyone, she said. The same words from dinner. My stomach tightened. What are you afraid of, Clarissa? She didn't answer. Instead, she said something that changed everything. You really think Daniel deserves the truth? Truth. My breath stopped. What truth? She smiled faintly. That's not your decision anymore. The anger peaked then. Huh. Sharp. You used my identity to hide something from my son. And you used legal traps to control him, she shot back. Control again. After everything I sacrificed, I whispered, how dare you? She looked away. Silence stretched. Then she said quietly, you think you're protecting him. I am. No, she said coldly. Your husband was. My heart skipped. What do you mean? She hesitated. Then, you don't know everything about that will. I felt something shift. You're right, I said calmly. I don't. Her eyes flickered. And that's what scares you, she whispered. When I left the hospital, Daniel was waiting in the parking lot. He looked angry and confused. Why didn't you tell me? He demanded. About what? The investigation. The registry called. They said inheritance risk is activated. Inheritance risk. He knew now. You tried to transfer property without me, I replied. We were planning our future. By erasing me from it? He ran his hands through his hair. This isn't about you, isn't it? Then what is it about? I asked quietly. He didn't answer. Instead, he said, Clarissa's stressed. The pregnancy is complicated. Complicated. Complicated how? He looked away. Just complicated. I held his gaze. Did you request a paternity screening? His head snapped up. What? I saw the form. He went pale. There was a screening? Yes, there was. And he didn't know. That was the quiet sadness moment. Seeing my son realize something was happening behind his back. Something bigger than property. You didn't know, I whispered. He shook his head slowly. No. My phone buzzed again. A notification. DNA app update. New match available. I froze. What is it? Daniel asked. I opened the app. Daniel's ancestry results. Updated. There was a new close match. Not paternal. Maternal. A name I didn't recognize. Shared DNA. 48%. Daniel stared at the screen. What does that mean? I felt dizzy. It meant sibling. Half sibling. But I had only one child. Only Daniel. Unless my husband had secrets too. Or worse, unless someone had tampered with samples. Daniel looked at me. Mom. My mind raced. Clause 12. Medical protection. Hidden clauses. DNA updates. Hospital consent. Nothing felt random anymore. Everything felt connected. That's when Advocate Ramon called again. There's something you need to hear, he said urgently. What? Clause 15 was never disclosed to Daniel. Why? Because your husband requested it remain sealed until a DNA discrepancy occurred. DNA discrepancy. My vision blurred. What does Clause 15 say? Silence. Then, if biological lineage is legally challenged, the estate distribution shifts. Shifts how? To the verified bloodline. The verified bloodline. Daniel looked at me. What is happening? I swallowed. I don't know. But I did know one thing. My husband didn't prepare for simple greed. He prepared for betrayal. On a level I hadn't imagined. As we stood in the parking lot, Daniel's phone buzzed. He looked down. His face drained of color. What? I asked. He showed me the screen. A message from Clarissa. I'm sorry. I didn't think the DNA app would update so fast. My breath stopped. So fast. Daniel's hands trembled. She's talking about the baby. The baby. I stared at him. Daniel. He looked up slowly and whispered, what if it's not mine? Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Everything I thought this was about. Property. Control. Power. Suddenly felt smaller. This wasn't just inheritance. This was identity. Lineage. Truth. And my husband had known. Somehow. He had known. As we stood there, stunned. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. I'm not listed as his biological father. That's what the hospital genetic counselor said. Not gently, not privately, but in a small consultation room with fluorescent lights humming above us, while my son sat beside me trying not to fall apart. Daniel's hands were clasped so tightly his knuckles had turned white. The DNA app notification hadn't been a glitch. It had triggered a deeper hospital cross-check because of the prenatal screening Clarissa secretly requested. And that cross-check had pulled archived data. Old data. From 29 years ago. I stared at the counselor. There must be a mistake. She didn't argue. She simply rotated the tablet toward us. Probability of paternity, 0%. The room went silent. Not loud shock. Not screaming. Just silence. The kind that rearranges your entire life in one breath. Daniel stood abruptly. This is wrong. His voice cracked. It has to be wrong. The counselor spoke carefully. We ran the test twice. Twice. I felt cold from the inside out. I carried him, I whispered. Yes, she said gently. Maternity is confirmed. Daniel looked at me slowly, as if searching my face for answers. For betrayal. For something I didn't have. I never knew, I said quietly. And that was the truth. I never knew. The humiliation in that moment wasn't public. It was internal. The kind that makes you question every memory. Every hospital bracelet. Every photograph of my husband holding Daniel as a baby. I remembered the day Daniel was born. My husband crying. Kissing my forehead. Saying he's ours. Ours. Had he known? Was that why he prepared those clauses? Clause 15. Bloodline protection. Estate redistribution. This wasn't paranoia. It was preparation. Daniel's phone buzzed. Clarissa again. Call me. He didn't. Instead, he asked the counselor, how long have you had this data? She hesitated. The initial sample was recorded at birth. Your father requested a private confirmation. My stomach dropped. Private confirmation? Daniel turned to me. You didn't know. I shook my head slowly. No. The counselor continued. Your father requested sealed documentation. It was locked under legal privacy protections. Sealed. Hidden. From me. I felt anger rise. Not at Daniel. Not even at Clarissa. At my husband. After everything I sacrificed. After everything I gave. He kept this from me? Why? To protect me? Or to protect himself? Daniel walked out of the consultation room without another word. I followed him into the parking lot. He stood there staring at nothing. I need air, he said. Daniel, did you ever suspect? The question sliced through me. No. He nodded slowly. Did you ever? He couldn't finish. Never, I said firmly. Silence. Then he whispered something that broke me. Then who am I? That was the quiet sadness moment. The identity fracture. The place where anger dissolves into grief. I stepped closer. You're my son. He let out a hollow laugh. Legally, maybe. Biology doesn't erase 29 years, I said softly. He didn't respond. That's when Advocate Rahman arrived. He looked unusually tense. There's something else, he said. Of course there was. There always is, I replied. He handed Daniel a sealed envelope. Your father left this for you. Only to be opened if Clause 15 activated. Daniel stared at it. His hands shook. Why would he hide this? Rahman answered quietly. Because he believed the truth could destroy the family. Destroy. We were already cracking. Daniel opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. His father's handwriting. My son, it began. Daniel's breath caught. If you're reading this, then the truth has surfaced. He swallowed hard. I loved you from the first moment I saw you. Loved. Not created. Loved. Biology is not fatherhood. Daniel's jaw tightened. But I discovered shortly after your birth that you were not genetically mine. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Cold. I confronted your mother's doctor privately. I froze. I had no idea. The letter continued. It was a hospital mix-up. A rare but documented case. 2 newborn samples mislabeled. My heart pounded. Hospital mix-up? Daniel kept reading. The genetic father was another patient in the maternity ward. The error was administrative, not deliberate. Administrative, not betrayal. My knees nearly gave out. I chose not to tell your mother, the letter said. She had already suffered enough complications during labor. Tears blurred my vision. He didn't tell me. To protect me. Or to control the narrative. Daniel's voice shook as he read the final line. I prepared legal protections in case this truth ever resurfaced. Not to punish you, but to shield your mother from being displaced. Shield me? From what? From him? Or from whoever the biological father was? Daniel lowered the letter slowly. So I'm someone else's son. I stepped forward. You are ours. He shook his head. No. His phone buzzed again. Clarissa. He answered this time. What? He demanded. Her voice was panicked. The baby results came back. Silence. And there was a long pause. Then, it's not yours. The words echoed even though she wasn't on speaker. Daniel closed his eyes. So you knew. I suspected, she whispered. Suspected. So you tried to secure assets first? Silence. That's why you rushed the transfer, he pressed. She didn't deny it. That was the anger peak. Huh. Raw. Explosive. You used my mother's identity, he said coldly. You forged documents. I was scared. So you robbed her? Silence. Then the call ended. Daniel looked at me. Broken. Humiliated. You were right. About what? That dinner wasn't about independence, he said. It was about security. Security from consequences. From truth. From exposure. But something still didn't sit right. I turned to advocate Ramon. If it was a hospital mix-up, why prepare forfeiture clauses? Ramon hesitated. Because your husband didn't fully believe the hospital. Cold washed over me. What do you mean? There was a second DNA test, he said quietly. Private. Private. My heart raced. And Ramon looked directly at Daniel. The second test confirmed you were not genetically related to either listed father. The world stopped. Either, Daniel whispered. Yes, the hospital father and your legal father. Silence. Total. Utter. Silence. I felt dizzy. What are you saying? I asked. Ramon's voice was careful. I'm saying the mix-up may not have been accidental. The air felt thin. If Daniel isn't biologically related to the hospital father and not to my husband, Daniel's voice cracked. Then whose child am I? No one answered. Because we didn't know. And then, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Photo attachment. I opened it. It was an old maternity ward photograph. 2 newborn bassinets. One labeled May. The other labeled Ramon. I looked up slowly at Advocate Ramon. His face had gone pale. My father was in that ward, he whispered. The room tilted. Daniel stared at him. You think? Ramon shook his head. I don't know. But his expression said something else. Fear. My phone buzzed again. Another message. This time from Clarissa. You need to come home. Someone else is here. Someone else? Who? Daniel texted back. 3 dots. Then, a man claiming to be your biological father. My heart stopped. Daniel looked at me. I looked at Ramon. The photograph. The clauses. The secrecy. The hospital. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. This was a chain reaction set in motion nearly 3 decades ago. And it was no longer about property. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The smart doorbell notification popped up while we were still in the car. Motion detected, front door. I opened the app with trembling fingers, and there he was, a man I had never seen before. Mid-50s, gray at the temples, standing on my porch like he belonged there. Clarissa stood beside him, arms folded, defensive. Daniel inhaled sharply. That's him, he whispered. How do you know? I asked. He sent me a message 2 hours ago. My heart dropped. You didn't tell me. I didn't want to panic you. After everything that had already happened. He didn't want to panic me. The irony almost made me laugh. We pulled into the driveway slowly. The man turned. His eyes landed on Daniel, and something shifted in his expression. Recognition. Not confusion. Not doubt. Recognition. Clarissa stepped forward immediately. I didn't invite him, she said quickly. The man gave a dry smile. You didn't need to. His voice was calm. Too calm. Daniel stepped out of the car. Who are you? The man held his gaze. My name is Imran Rahman. I felt Advocate Rahman beside me stiffen. Rahman. Same surname. The photograph. The bassinet. The maternity ward label. My pulse began to pound in my ears. Imran looked at Daniel carefully. I've been waiting a long time for this moment. For what? Daniel demanded. For you to find out. Silence. Then Daniel said the words that cracked the air open. Are you my father? The man didn't hesitate. Yes. The humiliation peak came not from shouting, but from neighbors peeking through curtains, from the exposure, from my private grief becoming street gossip. Clarissa whispered sharply, Can we not do this outside? But I didn't move. Neither did Daniel. Imran reached into his coat pocket. I brought documents. Of course he did. Everyone brings documents now. DNA printouts, hospital records, legal letters. Paper has replaced trust. We went inside. The same dining room. The same table. But the energy was different. No celebration. No mockery. Just confrontation. Imran placed a folder on the table. I requested a private DNA confirmation last year. Daniel's jaw tightened. Why? Because I always suspected. Suspected what? I asked. That there was a switch. The word hit me like a physical blow. Switch. You're accusing the hospital? Daniel asked. Imran shook his head slowly. No. Then who? Silence. He looked at me. And for the first time, I saw something I didn't expect. Guilt. 30 years ago, he began. My wife and I lost our son. Lost. My chest tightened. There were complications. The hospital told us he didn't survive. I felt cold. But something felt wrong, he continued. The weight was wrong. The paperwork was rushed. Daniel's breathing changed. You're saying I was that baby? I believe so. My knees weakened. That's impossible, I whispered. Imran turned toward me gently. Mrs. May, your husband knew. The room went silent. Advocate Rahman's eyes dropped to the table. My father handled the hospital's legal review, he said quietly. The same Rahman from the photograph. The bassinet label. Everything connected. You're telling me, I said slowly, that my husband knew my child was switched? Imran nodded once. He suspected. Suspected. The word felt cruel. Daniel stood abruptly. So what? He just kept me. Imran's voice cracked. He believed returning you would destroy both families. Destroy. Instead, he continued, he paid the hospital to bury the mistake. The air left my lungs. Paid. Buried. Silence filled the room. That's a lie, I whispered. But my voice lacked conviction. Because the clauses, the sealed videos, the legal traps, he hadn't prepared for greed. He had prepared for exposure. Daniel looked at me. You didn't know. No, I said. No, I didn't. The quiet sadness settled between us. He wasn't questioning my loyalty anymore. He was questioning his origin. Imran slid the DNA report across the table. Probability of paternity, 99.98%. Daniel stared at it. You think that fixes anything? He asked. No, Imran said softly. I think it explains something. Clarissa finally spoke. This is insane. Her voice trembled. All of this is insane. No, Daniel said calmly. What's insane is you trying to secure property before this came out. Her face flushed. I panicked. You forged my mother's name. I was protecting us. Us. He looked at her slowly. From what? Silence. Then she said the one thing that froze the room. From losing everything when he finds out he's not legally entitled. Legally entitled. Inheritance. Estate. Bloodline clause. Everything snapped into place. If Daniel wasn't biologically my husband's son, The estate could be challenged. Clarissa knew. That's why she rushed the transfer. That's why she needed control first. I felt anger rise, cold and steady. You knew before he did, I said. She didn't deny it. You used him, I continued. She whispered, I was trying to protect our child. And in the process, I replied softly, you nearly erased me. Silence. Imran spoke again. I didn't come for money. Daniel laughed hollowly. That's convenient. I came because the hospital footage was digitized. Footage. Advocate Rahman straightened. It was part of a malpractice archive. Imran nodded. I saw it. My stomach turned. And Imran swallowed. It shows a nurse switching identification tags. The room spun. Switching. Deliberate. Not accident. Daniel gripped the edge of the table. Why? No one knows, Rahman said quietly. But the nurse was later charged in a separate fraud case. Fraud. My heart pounded. This wasn't personal, Imran said. It was part of a baby trafficking investigation. The words barely registered. Trafficking? Daniel stepped back. You're saying I was sold? No, Imran replied quickly. But you were misplaced intentionally. Intentionally. I felt something inside me fracture. Not because Daniel wasn't biologically ours, but because someone decided his life like paperwork. My husband discovered it, and instead of fighting publicly, he buried it. To protect us, or to protect himself from scandal. Daniel turned to me slowly. What do you want? The question stunned me. Me. I want the truth, I said. All of it. Imran nodded. There's more. Of course there was. There always is, I whispered. He looked at Clarissa. Your prenatal screening triggered a federal audit. Her face drained. What? Because the baby trafficking case was reopened. The room froze. Reopened. Your child's DNA flagged the same hospital coding anomaly. Anomaly? My breath stopped. You're saying, Daniel began. Imran nodded. Yes. The same maternity ward. The same digital archive. The same pattern. History repeating. Clarissa began shaking. No, that's not possible. Imran's voice was steady. It is. The anger peak returned. Daniel turned to her. You said the baby wasn't mine. Tears streamed down her face. I was wrong. Wrong. My name is Nana May, and the night they tried to erase me from my own life, they did it in front of thousands of people. I was folding laundry when my phone began vibrating nonstop on the kitchen counter. At first, I ignored it. I had grown used to silence lately. Silence from my son, silence from family gatherings I was no longer invited to, silence that felt heavier than shouting. But this wasn't silence. This was noise. Message after message after message. My neighbor Salma. My cousin Farah. Even the pharmacist down the street. Are you okay? Please tell me this isn't true. Nana May, what's happening online? Online? My stomach tightened. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked up the phone. And there she was. Zara. Live. Her face filled the screen. Eyes glossy. Lips trembling. Wrapped in a soft beige shawl that made her look fragile and wronged. The lighting was perfect. The camera angle flawless. Soft piano music played faintly in the background. She looked like heartbreak. She looked like a victim. I didn't want to do this publicly, she whispered to the camera. But I have no choice anymore. Thousands were watching. The comments were pouring in. Stay strong. We believe you. No one deserves toxic in-laws. My heart began to pound so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Zara took a slow, shaky breath. For months, she continued, I've been dealing with emotional manipulation from my mother-in-law. She's been spreading lies about me, trying to turn my husband against me, accusing me of things I would never do. My hands started to tremble. She was talking about me, about this house, about my life. She's confused sometimes, Zara added softly. She forgets conversations. She creates stories in her head. We were trying to protect her dignity by keeping this private, but she forced our hand. The word hit me like a slap. Confused. For months, she had been planting that seed. Small comments here and there. Didn't you already tell me that, Nana? You seem tired lately. Maybe you should see a doctor. And now, she was watering that seed in front of the world. The comments turned cruel. She sounds unstable. Classic narcissistic mother-in-law. She's probably jealous of you. Jealous? I felt my knees weaken and sank into the chair. Zara sniffled on camera. She even accused me of trying to steal her house, she said with a soft, broken laugh. Imagine that. I love her like my own mother. The hypocrisy was suffocating. The very same woman who had whispered to someone on the phone, "Once everyone thinks she's losing her memory, the house will be ours." The voice note. Still saved. Still clear. Still real. Zara leaned closer to the camera. "We just want peace," she said. "But sometimes you have to expose the truth." Expose. Truth. I felt something shift inside me. For weeks I had stayed quiet. For Armin. For dignity. For hope that this would resolve privately. But she had taken it public. She had dragged my name into a courtroom made of comments and strangers. And if she wanted truth, I would give it to her. I stood up slowly. My legs felt steadier than I expected. I walked down the hallway to my bedroom and opened the drawer of my nightstand. Inside was the folder I had created when things first began feeling wrong. The voice recording, the doorbell footage, screenshots of messages, copies of bank transfer alerts, and the draft property document, the one with my forged signature. I sat on the edge of my bed and listened to the recording again. Zara's voice, clear as daylight. "We just need to make her look unstable. Once Armin doubts her memory, it's over." I closed my eyes. For weeks, I had wondered if exposing her would destroy my son's marriage. But now I understood something. The marriage was already built on manipulation, and silence only protects the liar. I walked back into the living room. Zara's live stream was still going. She had shifted into full victim mode now, dabbing her eyes, thanking supporters, speaking about toxic generational trauma. My name was in her comment section hundreds of times. Some people were tagging Armin. Others were suggesting legal action against me. My son had not commented. That silence cut deeper than the accusations. I opened my social media account. My hands were steady now. I uploaded the audio file. No caption. No explanation. Just the recording. Then I pressed post. For a moment, nothing happened. And then, the comments under my post began multiplying. "Is this real? Wait, is that her voice? This sounds exactly like Zara." On her live stream, I watched her phone buzz. Her eyes flicked sideways. Her smile faltered. Someone must have sent her the link. Her breathing changed. The comments on her live stream shifted tone. "Zara, have you seen Nana's post? Is it you in the audio? Explain this." She tried to laugh it off. "Don't believe everything you hear," she said quickly. "Audio can be edited." I uploaded the second piece. The doorbell footage. Timestamp visible. Clear shot of her entering my house while I was at my medical appointment. Clear shot of her going straight to my bedroom. Clear shot of her opening my document drawer. On her live stream, the shift was immediate. Her complexion drained. The comments exploded. "Why were you in her room? This doesn't look good." Zara responded. She swallowed. "That camera must be malfunctioning," she stammered. Then her live stream ended. Just like that. Screen black. My phone rang. Armin. I stared at his name for 3 seconds before answering. "Mom," he said, his voice tight. "Is that real?" "Yes." Silence. "She said you were confused," he whispered. "She said you've been imagining things." "I have proof," I replied calmly. "I never wanted it to come to this." Another silence. Then, "I'm coming over." When he arrived 20 minutes later, he didn't look angry. He looked shaken. He sat at the kitchen table and replayed the audio. Then the footage. Then the screenshots. Each piece chipped away at something inside him. "She told me you were paranoid," he said quietly. "I stayed quiet to protect you," I replied. "Not her." His jaw tightened. For months, he had defended her. For months, he had distanced himself from me. And now the truth was sitting in front of him, undeniable. His phone rang. "Zara." He put it on speaker. "This is insane," she shouted immediately. "No tears now. No softness. She's manipulating you." "The footage?" Armin asked. Silence. "The audio?" She edited it. Armin's voice changed. Not loud. Not angry. Just firm. "Zara, I know your voice." A long pause. Then the familiar tactic. "You're choosing her over me?" And in that moment, I realized something. She never saw him as a partner, only as a position. I'm choosing the truth, Armin said quietly. The line disconnected. That night, I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired, exhausted from weeks of tension, exhausted from watching my character be shredded publicly. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel powerless. The truth had stepped into the light, and lies, no matter how carefully dressed, cannot survive long there. If you're ready, next I will write. My name is Nana May, and I used to believe that once the truth comes out, everything settles. I was wrong. Truth doesn't settle things. It shakes them. The morning after the live stream felt unreal. I woke before dawn, the house quiet except for the ticking clock in the hallway. For a few seconds, I forgot what had happened. Then my phone lit up on the bedside table. Over 3,000 notifications. My chest tightened. I didn't open them immediately. Instead, I walked to the kitchen and made tea the way I always did. Slow, steady, deliberate. When the world spins, you hold on to small rituals. By the time I sat down and unlocked my phone, the internet had already chosen sides. Zara's follower count was dropping. My post had been shared thousands of times. People were analyzing the audio. Some enhanced it. Others compared old videos of Zara speaking to match voice patterns. Complete strangers were defending me. She lied. She tried to gaslight an elderly woman. This is abuse. Abuse. I had never thought of it that way. I had called it tension, misunderstanding, family conflict. But watching strangers identify it so clearly made something inside me ache. Because it meant it had been visible all along. And I had tried to endure it quietly. Armin hadn't left the house that night. He had slept on the couch like he used to when he was young and scared of thunderstorms. In the morning, I found him sitting at the table, staring at his phone. She's saying it's fake, he muttered. Of course she is. She posted a statement. He handed me the phone. Zara's new post was polished, calm, strategic. I am being targeted with fabricated media meant to destroy my marriage and reputation. Legal action is being considered. Legal action. I almost laughed. Because the one thing liars forget? Proof doesn't panic. It waits. And I still hadn't posted everything. Armin, I said carefully, have you checked your bank statements recently? He looked confused. Why? Just check. He opened his banking app. I watched his expression shift slowly. Confusion, then focus, then disbelief. There are transfers here, he said quietly. Small ones, over months, to an account ending in 7742. I asked. He looked up at me sharply. How did you know? Because that account is in her name. Silence filled the kitchen. They're not huge amounts, he said defensively at first. Maybe I approved them. Look at the timestamps, I said gently. He scrolled. Most of the transfers happened late at night. While he was asleep, his breathing changed. She had access to my login, he whispered. I didn't say anything. He kept scrolling. Then he froze. What is this? It was a larger transfer. Marked legal consultation. Dated 2 weeks before the live stream. 2 weeks before she publicly painted me as unstable. She was preparing, he said, his voice hollow. Yes, not reacting. Preparing. That afternoon, Zara came to the house. She didn't knock softly. She pounded on the door. Armin opened it before I could stand. She looked different without the camera glow. No soft lighting. No gentle music. Just sharp eyes and controlled anger. How dare you, she said to me, stepping inside without invitation. Do you have any idea what you've done? I remained seated. I told the truth. You humiliated me. You tried to erase me. Her jaw tightened. This could have been handled privately. You made it public. She turned to Armin. Tell her to take it down. He didn't answer. Armin, she insisted. Say something. He finally looked at her. Really looked at her. When were you going to tell me about the transfers? Her composure cracked for a second. What transfers? Don't, he said quietly. She shifted tactics immediately. Are you spying on me now? You accessed my account without permission. I'm your wife. That's not an answer. Silence stretched. Then she laughed softly, the same soft laugh from the live stream. You're letting her turn you against me. Armin shook his head. No, he said. I'm seeing clearly for the first time. That was the moment she realized control was slipping. And when control slips from someone who thrives on it, they don't retreat gently. That evening, anonymous posts began appearing online. Accounts with no profile pictures, no history, accusing me of being mentally unstable, claiming I had a history of manipulation. But there was something sloppy about it. The language, the phrasing, the same expressions Zara used in arguments. The internet noticed too. Users began connecting the dots. IP addresses were traced by overly enthusiastic tech enthusiasts. Within hours, screenshots circulated suggesting the fake accounts were linked to her Wi-Fi. She tried to delete them. Too late. The internet never forgets. By the third day, the story had spread beyond our small circle. Local bloggers picked it up. A commentary channel analyzed the situation. Headlines framed it as a case of digital gaslighting. I hated that it was entertainment for strangers, but if exposure was the price of truth, so be it. Armin had stopped returning her calls. She sent messages instead. Long ones. Emotional ones. I feel attacked. You're abandoning me. Your mother has always hated me. He showed them to me. Not to hurt me, but because transparency had replaced secrecy. I don't know what to believe anymore, he admitted one night. Believe patterns, I said softly. Not words. He nodded slowly. Because patterns don't cry on camera. Patterns don't perform. Patterns repeat. On the fourth day, something unexpected happened. Zara's own cousin messaged me privately. I can't stay quiet anymore, she wrote. She did something similar to our aunt years ago. Accused her of dementia to control property matters. My hands went cold. It wasn't new behavior. It was strategy. That message changed everything for Armin. Because doubt can survive confusion. But repetition kills doubt. He sat across from me that evening, eyes red. I married someone I don't recognize, he said. No, I replied gently. You married who she pretended to be. And that hurt him more. The next morning, he packed a small bag. I need space, he said. He didn't say separation. He didn't say divorce. But space is the first crack in any collapsing structure. Zara called me that afternoon. Not crying. Not angry. Cold. You think you won, she said. This was never a game. You've destroyed everything. No, I answered calmly. You built everything on lies. She exhaled sharply. You'll regret this. Truth has no regret. She hung up. That night, as I locked the doors and turned off the lights, I realized something strange. For months, I had been afraid of losing my son. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of being misunderstood. But now, the fear was gone. Not because everything was fixed, but because everything was exposed. And there is power in exposure. Because once lies are dragged into daylight, they shrink. But this wasn't over. Not yet. Because Zara wasn't done fighting. And the next move she made would force everything into a place no one expected. If you're ready, the next part is, my name is Nana May, and just when I thought the storm had passed, it changed direction. It arrived in a plain white envelope. No dramatic knock. No raised voices. Just a courier asking for my signature. I knew before I opened it that peace was not on the other side. The envelope felt heavier than paper should feel. Armin was in the living room when I walked back in, holding it. From a law firm, I said quietly. His jaw tightened. Open it. I sat down slowly and slid my finger under the seal. The words were sharp, formal, carefully constructed. Cease and desist. Defamation. Emotional distress. Financial damages. Zara was suing. Not just threatening. Suing. For reputational harm. For manipulated media. For intentional public humiliation. I read it twice before lowering the pages. Armin ran his hand through his hair. She's serious. Yes. There was a silence between us that felt like standing at the edge of something irreversible. She's claiming the audio is fabricated, he muttered. That you edited it. I met his eyes. You were there the night I first played it for you. He nodded. I know. But knowing something privately and defending it publicly are two different things. And now it was public. Official. Legal. The internet had been one battlefield. This was another. Because courts don't care about comment sections. They care about proof. And proof. I had. But proof also has consequences. Do you want to fight this? Armin asked carefully. I study my son's face. Tired. Torn. Aging faster than he should. I didn't start this, I said softly. But I won't run from it. He nodded slowly. Then we fight. For the first time since this began, I didn't feel alone in it. That evening, we sat at the dining table with every document spread out like puzzle pieces. The original property deed. The forged draft with my falsified signature. Bank transfer logs. The voice recording. The doorbell footage. And now the lawsuit. Armin stared at the forged signature. She practiced it, he whispered. She must have. It's close, I admitted. But not perfect. He leaned back in his chair. I feel stupid. No, I said firmly. You feel betrayed. There's a difference. And betrayal hurts deeper because it requires trust first. The next morning, we met with a lawyer recommended by an old friend of mine. A calm woman with sharp eyes and very little patience for drama. She listened carefully as we explained everything. Then she listened to the audio recording. She watched the doorbell footage. She examined the forged document. When she finished, she folded her hands. This isn't defamation, she said calmly. This is exposure. Armin exhaled slowly. She's trying to intimidate you, the lawyer continued. A lawsuit like this can scare people into silence. Will it work? I asked. She gave me a small smile. Only if you're afraid. I wasn't. Not anymore. 2 days later, Zara escalated. She filed for an emergency injunction to have my post removed pending investigation, which meant a preliminary hearing, which meant court. The first time I stepped into that courtroom, I felt something strange. Not fear. Clarity. Zara was already seated with her attorney. She looked composed, elegant, controlled, like the live stream version of herself had returned. When our eyes met, she didn't smile. She didn't look angry either. She looked calculating. The judge entered. Proceedings began. Her lawyer spoke first. He described me as an unstable elderly woman lashing out at a successful young wife. He questioned the authenticity of the recordings. He implied technological manipulation. He spoke with confidence. Polish. Performance. Then it was our turn. My lawyer didn't raise her voice. She simply played the audio. In that quiet courtroom, Zara's voice filled the space. We just need to make her look unstable. There's something about hearing your own scheme in a silent room full of strangers. It strips away performance. Zara's composure flickered. Then the doorbell footage played. Timestamp visible. Her entering my home. Her opening my drawer. No dramatic music. No filters. Just reality. Her lawyer shifted in his seat. The judge leaned forward slightly. Then came the bank records. Unauthorized transfers. Late-night logins. Patterns. Not accusations. Patterns. Zara's lawyer attempted to argue context. Intent. Misinterpretation. But facts don't tremble under pressure. People do. Then something unexpected happened. The judge asked Zara directly, "Did you access your husband's banking account without his knowledge?" A pause. Small, but long enough. "I had access," she said carefully. "That wasn't the question." Silence. The judge waited. And in that silence, something cracked. "Yes," she admitted quietly. Armin inhaled sharply beside me. The room felt smaller. Because confession, even partial, changes everything. The judge denied the injunction. My post would remain. The defamation claim would proceed to further review. But the attempt to silence me had failed. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited. Cameras. Microphones. Zara walked past them without speaking. Armin didn't stop either. But I did. Only for a second. A young reporter asked, "Do you have anything to say?" I looked into the camera and said calmly, "Truth doesn't fear examination." And then I walked away. That night, the internet shifted again. Public opinion tilted heavily. But something inside me felt heavier than victory. Because court battles don't just expose lies. They expose fractures. Armin sat across from me at the kitchen table. "She admitted it," he whispered. "Yes. I don't know who she is anymore." I reached across and squeezed his hand. "Sometimes," I said gently, "people show us exactly who they are. We just don't want to see it." He nodded slowly, and then he said something I wasn't prepared for. I've filed for legal separation. The words settled in the room like dust after collapse. Not shouted, not dramatic. Final. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. Because even when you escape something toxic, you still mourn the dream you had for it. 3 days later, another revelation surfaced. Zara had consulted a property attorney months before the live stream. Documents showed she had inquired about transferring ownership under claims of mental incapacity. Before any confusion, before any public accusations, preparation, not reaction. When Armin saw the timeline, something inside him hardened. This wasn't a mistake, he said quietly. No, I replied. It was a plan, and plans unravel when exposed to light. But Zara wasn't done, because the next move she made wasn't about property or reputation. It was about survival, and it would force Armin to confront something even deeper than betrayal. If you're ready, next is. My name is Nana May, and I thought I had already survived the worst of it. I was wrong, because betrayal has layers, and the deepest one hadn't even been uncovered yet. It started with a phone call Armin almost didn't answer. We were sitting in the living room, the television on but muted. Neither of us was watching. The house had felt suspended for days, like everything was paused between what had happened and what was still coming. His phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and frowned. It's Imran, Zara's older brother. Armin hesitated. Answer it, I said quietly. He did. Hello. I couldn't hear Imran's voice clearly, but I could hear the tone urgent, uneasy. Armin stood up slowly as he listened. What? He said sharply. A pause. That's not possible. Another pause. Then his face drained of color. I'll come, he said finally and ended the call. He stood there for a moment, unmoving. What is it? I asked. He swallowed. She's not at her apartment. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She told her family she's staying with a friend. The friend says she hasn't seen her. Her phone's been off for hours. Fear crawled into the room like smoke. This wasn't about court anymore. This wasn't about reputation. This was about unpredictability. And unpredictable people do unpredictable things when control slips from their hands. Armin left immediately. I stayed home, pacing slowly from room to room, my mind racing through possibilities. Had she run? Was she planning something? Or was this another performance? Hours passed. No updates. Night fell. Finally, close to midnight, my phone rang. It was Armin. She's at the hospital. The words hit like ice water. Is she hurt? She took something. My hand gripped the edge of the table. What? Sleeping pills. Not enough to, his voice cracked. Not enough to die, but enough to scare. Scare. The word echoed, because fear had always been her weapon, and now she had turned it on herself. At the hospital, Zara lay pale but conscious, for drip, monitors beeping softly. When Armin entered the room, she turned her head slowly, as if even movement required effort. You came, she whispered. Of course he did, because no matter what she had done, he had loved her. And love doesn't shut off like a switch. Imran stood in the corner, arms crossed tightly. This is your fault, he muttered to Armin. You pushed her. Armin didn't respond. He just stared at Zara. Why? He asked quietly. Tears slid down her temples. I lost everything, she said faintly. You chose her. There it was again. Choice framed as betrayal. Consequences framed as abandonment. You forged documents, Armin said steadily. You accessed my bank account. You tried to convince me my mother was mentally unstable. Her eyes flickered. I was protecting us. From what? From being controlled by her. Even now, even in a hospital bed, the narrative twisted. Armin stepped back. Something in him shifted permanently in that moment. Not anger, not hatred, understanding, clear and cold. You need help, he said softly. And for the first time, she didn't argue. Because beneath manipulation, beneath strategy, beneath control, there was something fractured. Something that had been there long before me. Long before Armin. The doctors later confirmed it wasn't a serious attempt. It was a cry for control, an emotional escalation, but it forced something none of us could ignore. This was bigger than property, bigger than reputation, bigger than court. It was about patterns of manipulation that had finally collapsed under their own weight. 2 days later, Zara agreed to psychiatric evaluation, not willingly at first, but because her family insisted, because Armin insisted, because even she understood that the performance had gone too far. The evaluation revealed something none of us expected fully, though perhaps we should have. A long history of unstable attachment behaviors, manipulative coping mechanisms, deep-rooted fear of abandonment, control used as protection. The psychiatrist explained it clinically, but the truth was simpler. She had always believed that if she didn't control everything, she would lose everything. So she controlled harder and harder until there was nothing left to hold. When Armin told me about the diagnosis, he didn't look relieved. He looked hollow. It explains things, he said. Yes, but it doesn't excuse them. No, and that distinction mattered, because understanding someone's wounds doesn't mean you accept their damage. The court proceedings slowed after that. Her lawyer requested time, citing medical circumstances. Public opinion shifted from outrage to uneasy sympathy. But I stayed quiet. No more posts, no more statements, because this was no longer about winning. It was about ending. One evening, Armin came home later than usual. He sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where so much had unfolded. She signed the separation agreement, he said. Final. The word didn't need to be spoken. It hung there anyway. She's moving back with her parents for now. I nodded slowly. And you? I asked gently. He exhaled. I feel like I woke up from something. That's what manipulation feels like when it ends, I said softly. Like fog lifting. He looked at me carefully. I almost lost you, but you didn't. That was what mattered. Weeks passed. The legal case dissolved quietly, without public spectacle, without dramatic verdicts, because once the truth was undeniable, there was nothing left to argue. The forged document case was dropped when Zara admitted wrongdoing as part of settlement. Financial restitution was arranged privately. No prison, no headlines, just consequences. Real ones. One afternoon, as I watered the garden, Armin joined me. We worked in silence for a while. The air felt lighter, not because nothing had happened, but because nothing was hidden anymore. I learned something, he said finally. What's that? Silence protects the wrong person. I smiled faintly. Yes, it does. He looked at me. Thank you for not staying silent. I reached over and squeezed his hand. I was never fighting you, I said. I was fighting for you. Months later, life found a rhythm again. Not the old one. A new one. Stronger in some ways, sadder in others, but honest. And honesty is quieter than drama. It doesn't perform. It doesn't live stream. It simply stands. Sometimes people ask me if I regret exposing everything publicly, if I wish I had handled it privately. And I always answer the same way. Truth whispered in private can be twisted. Truth spoken in daylight cannot. This is not a story about revenge. It's about clarity. It's about recognizing manipulation, even when it wears love's face. It's about choosing dignity over silence. And most of all, it's about a mother who refused to disappear quietly.